the vibes are messed up in BC, and you can't really go anywhere without noticing that, and it's hard to ignore.
Hello, my name is Nikki.
Hi, my name is Bruce Livingston.
Hi, my name is Siobhan.
Hi, my name is Susan Martin.
Hello, my name is Kayla.
The Backpack Project is a community organization that provides mutual aid to our friends and family who are unhoused. I collect donations from community members that care, and I bring them to people that need them the most.
I'm a volunteer with NSUN, and I have lived experience of homelessness.
I am the housing outreach worker at Quadra Village Community Center.
I'm a volunteer with Neighborhood Solidarity with Unhoused Neighbors, known as NSUN.
Right now, I'm a student in the Mental Health and Addictions program at Camosun College, but in the past, I have worked as an outreach worker in the Greater Victoria area.
Well, I'm a gardener by trade, and when I first started noticing our homeless population, that's where they were. They were in the gardens that I was tending. So I got to know a lot of people who were unhoused in the parks, and started hearing their stories and how they ended up there, and it really touched my heart, as well as I have family members who had been homeless and who are presently homeless in Victoria right now.
I would say enlightened self-interest, because about 7, maybe 8 years ago, I got out of the shelter I was in. I was staying at Rock Bay Landing for over 2 years, and it was only temporary for 2 years at that time. So I expected to be homeless again, and I saw a lot of systems that should be transformed before I became homeless again. I've been networking with other advocates in the community which eventually has led me to NSUN.
Lived experience. To be honest, I can't imagine myself doing any other job. I tried doing retail even before getting this job, but the thought of that made me really sad. But yeah, I don't know, it's just something that I really, really like to do and have wanted to do for a really long time.
I really don't know why I started, because I was one of those sort of typical house people, would shuffle by somebody sitting on the sidewalk asking for spare change, not make eye contact. I was out for a jog one day and I saw that there was a sign at Gonzales Park saying that people were going to be allowed to shelter there 24/7 because of the pandemic. And there were a couple of what I presumed were housed people there, sort of looking at the sign with some kind of not very pleasant looks on their faces. And I just felt like that we needed to get out ahead of this, or it was going to become ugly. We were in no way sort of experienced in this kind of social justice work or liaising with people who were unhoused.
I mean, I think a lot of people, especially in BC, have a personal connection, like either themselves or someone they know or someone in their family, has issues with substance use or mental health problems or both. That's definitely true for myself, but it's also like, I think most people are in this situation where, the vibes are messed up in BC, and you can't really go anywhere without noticing that, and it's hard to ignore. And so when I was looking for a way to get involved with supporting my community members when the COVID pandemic hit, that was kind of like a no-brainer, like first choice for me to go somewhere and start putting in the time.
I need community support and I need policy change. I can deliver all the supplies that people need, but if they're constantly being confiscated and thrown in the garbage, it's counterproductive. So I need policy change. I need leaders to understand what we need and what's not working. And I need the public to understand what we need and what's not working.
Funding. I have to, year after year, apply for my own funding and grants to run this program. It doesn't just come out of nowhere. I'm very grateful to get money from the city and the Victoria Foundation, but we're still trying to build the program, add more people if we can.
What I need and what our organization needs is proof positive from the system, from the powers that be, that they hear us and they're actually going to act. We are stuck right now in this cycle with bylaw and the city where we get donations from the public, which is fantastic, and we give them to people and then they get confiscated. And it's just ridiculous. And you know, we have other things where we're seeing people with medical problems or getting into addiction treatment only to be released back into homelessness. What is the point of that? Unless we can get the systems behind us, this work is soul crushing.
I would say resources and support from agencies that I work with in the community. The resources are an obvious thing in that the whole housing sector needs more resources, and I know I've looked at the numbers. I realize that the federal government has not been spending on housing for 30 years or more, basically. And so I would say, like, that's job number one, is get money going back into public housing, affordable housing. Nonprofit housing is my preference, and I think that Canada was doing better when we had more nonprofit housing.
Money. Goods and services cost money, and there is a really pervasive idea that because people get involved with this field because they're compassionate and they're looking to help other people, that will help them pay their bills. You know, this is an essential service, and at the end of the day, like, a lot of people are dipping into their own personal savings to finance this stuff, and that's not okay. You know, like, there is just simply a need for everyone really in BC to be making far more money than they do because of how expensive it is to live here. And without additional resources allocated to this, you know, it's never going to go away, right? Like, if there's, you know, if we're rate limited by how much money we're being given, you know, the solutions are also limited. So I think even for, you know, the spendthrift people out there who are like, oh, like, you know, we don't want to spend too much money, you know, you have to understand that, like, this solution requires spending money, and that includes on the people who are out there doing the labor every day.
We need powerful people, people with influence, people who have control over the money to just say, I don't care if we haven't done this before, or I don't care what, you know, a small vocal percentage of our constituency says. This is the right thing to do. This is the evidence-supported thing to do, so we're going to do it. And then at the end of 6 months or a year, let's see how successful we've been. And if we haven't been successful, then let's try something else. But what we're doing right now is not working. We cannot build our way out of this. It takes far too long to build housing. Most of the projects in this town from BC Housing are at least a year behind schedule. We're only opening something like 280 spaces. Most of those are already spoken for. We have people who have been in shelter for 5 years, living in places like my place across from Central High School. It's not working. So if you want people like Ensign to keep doing this work, we need to see real change on the ground from our politicians, from our organizations like Island Health. People need to step up and take responsibility and justify why we're paying people such big salaries.
I think a lot of my beef with doing this job is the fact that I have to find my own funding for it. I have to fight for my own living wage. I am also someone who could potentially be unhoused if I miss a paycheck or two. So I'm not, when I'm supporting people, I also am going through grief. Yeah.
I love meeting people. Yeah, I love meeting community members. They have stories to tell, they have lives to share. When you meet people who are unhoused, they rarely want to talk about their problems. They mostly want to talk about the things that they love, the things that bring them happiness and enjoyment, and they like to joke and share stories, and they want to be included as part of the community. Just like when I walk by you on the street, I say hello. They'd like to be included as part of that community too, instead of ignored and treated as if they don't exist.
Oh, I love the people. I joined the community, I guess, when I was homeless, and it's something that people who were camping in Beacon Hill, we called Megan, that they, like, several people mentioned the same outcome for them once they got put into a shelter somewhere or got housing way out in Langford, etc., that they really missed the community that they built when they were homeless.
I get to do what I really want to do every day, and that's just supporting my community and supporting people that have the same lived experience as me, different lived experience. I learn so much every single day, and just it amazes me how amazing people are, especially faced with some of the most devastating and hard things in life. Kind of puts everything in perspective, and I never really take anything for granted anymore.
My work is overwhelming sometimes because there's people in various stages of survival and various stages of trauma. So sometimes it's overwhelming when you see people suffer, but it's very rewarding when you see the community come together and band together around human beings. That's where I get most joy from, is watching people come together and forming groups and surrounding people with love and kindness. That's what keeps me going.
I like that we have small successes, and I've met great people. Yeah, and I love that people seem so grateful for the small things that we do, and to be able to give somebody a hot cup of coffee on a cold day in the park, or to get somebody, you know, a sleeping bag or a tent. That's what keeps me going, is the small things, but it does get pretty depressing when you ride the bus down Pandora and you see the extreme need and you think, what is going on in this country that's so rich that we're allowing this to continue? Yeah.
I love working with people. You know, like the people that I've had the opportunity to meet, whether that is workers or people that I'm supporting, you know, everyone has something unique about them that you get to learn and share with someone. And likewise, you know, the people getting involved in this field, you know, there is just so many like cool things that you you get to take home with you if your job is working with other people. It's just, you know, like, who could ask for a better job than, you know, socializing with people and like doing favors for other people and helping people get back on their feet. You know, you get to interact with people every day and just be helpful. And that's, I mean, that's the dream job situation for me.